Oh boy, we have a special treat for the listeners of the Twisted 10 today.
Yeah, this is going to be cool.
So Josh and I are in studio doing an ad hoc recording. Today is Halloween, so happy Halloween for those of you that are out there.
Yeah, happy Halloween, guys.
We are releasing a bonus episode today. This is not a structured Twisted 10. This is nothing like a normal show. This is literally one of the many episodes of the Twisted 10 After Show, which is our Patreon $5 tier. And that's going to come free to the listeners of the Twisted 10. It'll be available in your feed as well. If you wanted to go to listen to it on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/twisted10. It's free for anyone there as well. But yeah, we wanted to give you guys a sample of what we do in the after show. What did we talk about, Josh? Because this is the first one. This was a few weeks back. So what did we talk about?
So this was the first episode, and we kind of jumped all over the place, and I guess that's very indicative of every episode of the after show.
Yes, that's
as you mentioned, we don't structure. It's not a rail. It's not a list. We're not counting down or anything. Definitely no notes, as you'll hear. But on this one, so we opened up. Tach wanted to talk about the evolution paradox. As we say often on the show, we're super nerdy, and this collection of topics in this 38 minutes or so. Yeah, this 38-minute episode for this after show. So we have the evolution paradox that Tach brought, which then we used to jump into the number one unethical experiment. I brought that one,
which seeded another Twisted 10, by the way.
It did, yeah. That prompted a whole episode. That it prompted
Ron
last week's episode.
Yep.
That just came out. Ron's episode. Then from there, I don't remember exactly how we started talking about a story that you and Tach had about a beach narc.
Yeah, you'll hear it in the show, but yeah, Cocoa Beach narc. You'll hear who that was.
I don't know how we got from there to here, but I am also, for those who don't know, I am a lord. It is proper to call me Lord Josh Wilson.
Yes, Lord Wilson.
Lord Wilson. I'm sorry, I'm holding my pinky as high up as you can imagine right now. And then we nerded out on some Star Wars lore and fan theories.
Nerds!
Closing out the show. So it's a lot of fun. It's very different than the regular show. They're half hour to an hour is our longest one so far.
Yeah, that sounds
just
about
under
right.
an hour. But we just get to bring it almost sounds bad, a less focused.
It's more freeform. So
yes.
The listeners that have heard us in the past, we've had two podcasts before. One of them was called Living Podcariously, and then we've also had this show called The Twisted 10. Living Podcariously was very off the rails. It was very it was more driven for fun and entertainment and just, chilling and hopping on mics with friends and people.
Sitting around, drinking whiskey, talking shit.
Damn right. So that's kind of what the after show is. If you enjoyed the Living Podcariously show, you're going to get a lot of that same content inside our after show. It just it's more driven towards helping the studio. So what does that money go towards? So Patreon, of course, Patreon takes a little dip, and that's okay. That's what they're there for. But the money that comes out of our patrons, we've got $2, $5, and $20 tier, I believe. That money goes right back into the studio. So I personally want to upgrade all of our mics to the Shure SM7Bs. Now, Josh, those things are $500 a piece. So guess what? That'll take a little bit of patronage out of our listeners. So the money, just so you know, the money that we make off of this goes into Ron and Josh manage all the money for the podcast. It goes into an account just for us, for the podcast to be able to use for things like that, like studio replacement for gear. So we just broke one of our mic stands in here. We got to get that replaced. That's $25. Comes out of that money that we get out of Patreon. So when you pay into Patreon to get the bonus content from us, it's directly helping the show grow and succeed. Eventually that money will go into sponsorships or advertisements where we'll advertise the show. There's a whole bunch. There's a huge rundown. Maybe that could be an after show one time talking about that. Now that bore the shit out of the listeners.
That would absolutely.
Never mind. But you get it. You understand what I'm trying to say here. That the money that does go into Patreon does go back to the show, and we greatly appreciate all of the support that the listeners show for the show and the hosts.
So for you guys who do go to our Patreon and you do decide to sign up, thank you, first and foremost. I just want to lay out what our goals are with that. We have a few structured goals. We've got our first goal. Right now, this is a bit of a bootstrap podcast, as they all are. But right now, our first goal is to get all of our hosting, our editing tools. We use some Adobe stuff, and that's all on a monthly basis. So our first goal is to get all of our recurring monthly costs covered. Once we have that enables us to then branch in a few different directions. So one, as you mentioned, we have the ability to do marketing. So that'll be able to give us an opportunity to grow the show in that avenue. We'll also be able to focus some of that into upgrading our hardware, better microphones, better mic stands. Just in general, a lot of the sound dampening and equipment here in the studio is stuff that has been handmade. It's worked great for years. It's served us very well, but we can get into more professional sound dampening, more professional acoustic control in the studio, which again, just only further builds upon the show. And then getting quality content down first is first.
Content is king.
Content is king.
Absolutely.
Getting good quality down is second.
Mm-hmm.
But then from there, that gives us the ability to start doing contests and raffles and handouts, and not handouts, but it gives us the ability to throw that back to the listeners just through participation. We're in the process now in the background of standing up a new merchandise line so we can get some shirts and hats and some swag out to you guys, and that's got some upfront costs that we're hoping to absorb through our patrons. So those are our short-term goals and our longer-term goals on how we're going to use it for now. And again, thank you very much for your financial support of the show. It's what's going to enable us to grow beyond what the four of us can support as a side hobby and really turn this into something that can be big for all of us. So thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. On that note, enjoy this very first episode of the Twisted 10 After Show, completely free to our Twisted 10 listeners. Have fun. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Wait a minute. What is that from the... Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's porn.
Oh, I got a friend.
A lot of people do that. Oh, yeah.
I thought, no, I have a guy who does that all the time, but
Yeah,
Is he in porn? Is
it's
he
just a porn
is
thing.
your actor of choice?
Are you fucking him when he does this?
oh, yeah.
Well, that's a hell of a way.
Hey, welcome to the after
That's a
show.
hell of a way to enter the after show. So we just got off of the recording of, I don't remember the number, but Ron's episode hosted, which was the top 10 theories
of the start of life on Earth. And we don't number the shows anymore.
No, not really. Well, I mean, they're numbered, but yeah, we aren't going on numbers anymore, but good fucking show, dude.
Yeah,
it
was fun.
Very good show.
Okay. I want to throw this out there first.
Do it.
Oh, wait, no, wait. Tach, you wanted to throw something out there first. You asked for this.
I did.
Do it. Go for
You
it.
sure?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine can wait.
This may cause some discussion or not. I don't know.
That's
Mine
all right.
might cause
I may have-
discussion too.
Okay. Well, I made this. I don't know if I asked any of you this before. I think I talked to Ron. Anyway, I keep doing that. Anyway, here's the thing. So this is about evolution. Okay.
All right.
So my theory is, I was thinking about this and going, interesting. Do you guys think, or what are your thoughts on, because we have equal opportunity in this world, meaning like, okay, think about animals, right? They have the strongest.
Are we getting racist?
Cut the mics. Cut the mics.
No. Okay, so animals, right? The strong survive, right?
Survival of the fittest.
Yes. Okay. We have equal opportunity in the world, meaning like anybody is allowed to procreate.
Yeah.
There's no like saying,
I've thought about what
only-
you're saying before.
right. So we're not saying, only athletic people can procreate and anybody overweight can't. We allow everybody to procreate.
Or only people, like if you have an IQ of under 120, you're not allowed to have children. Like that's not how we do it. Anybody can.
So are we
procreate.
stunting our evolution by doing that?
Well, we don't seem to be, because we seem to still be evolving, getting smarter, living longer. But are we? I mean, I've thought about this before, but the evidence doesn't support it. Even though I see what you're saying.
Maybe we're slowing it down.
You've opened up Pandora's box with that.
What we're
question.
not doing is trying to purposely engineer some super race.
The Vikings did.
Right.
So
right?
survival of the fittest, in its essence, is going to put us back to a flight or fight mentality with just about everything you face, for the most part. That's how we've evolved to get to where we are now, if you support the evolution theories. Part of that evolution was our brain and our intellect, and it changes the playing field of survival of the fittest now. It's no longer survival of the fittest as we move forward and we evolve. It's survival of the smartest. And you brought up the example in the comparison of, what was it?
Talking about lions or something?
No.
Oh.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah, equal
Right?
opportunity. Yeah.
So that's a direct result of the intellect of humanity purposefully allowing the continued procreation of the species because of our brains, not because of our bronze or because of our statute. It's because that's the moral and obligatory thing that we should do because of how smart we are as a species. So our next step in evolution, as far as I see it, in major evolutionary change that's going to affect the species, not like losing pinkies. All right, that doesn't change us as a species. All right, or an appendage that we don't necessarily use anymore. Our pancreas. Isn't the pancreas what we're kind of losing evolutionarily?
Yeah.
All right, so
Or I thought the appendix.
maybe it is. No,
Appendix?
gallbladder is used.
What about the appendix?
Whatever, one of those fucking.
Oh, yeah.
we can
Not the
live without
pancreas. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
appendix. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the appendix.
We need
All
the
right, so
pancreas. Yeah.
the appendix has been theorized to be what we needed when we would eat raw meat to additionally break down those extra enzymes and bacteria and stuff that was in raw meat. So as a species, we haven't changed. We might lose that particular feature, but we have not evolved. Okay.
Right.
Evolution, based on Darwin's theories and many others, is major changes through species and families. All right. So major changes. So instead of breathing oxygen, we can breathe pure nitrogen or whatever other, that's a major species genetic makeup change. That's a major alteration. I predict, as from what I've read about human evolution, the next major step in human evolution is digital immortality. Throwing it back to Josh from
Oh my God,
some conversations
we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I have some strong feelings.
But
on
that's
it.
something that we would be doing, not something that
But
happens.
it's,
doesn't-
it's
doesn't
forced
change.
evolution, though. It's
Yeah, it
still
doesn't
evolution.
Force, right? But
That doesn't change the scope of what happens to us as a species. It doesn't change it. We will evolve in that track into being completely inside computers, inside bits of data, as opposed to flesh and bone in these shells of bodies that are super fragile. We could live forever with our same consciousness, with our same memories, with our same experiences and intellect through hardware, maybe even biological hardware. But it's through some other means than what we've got now. I don't see us ever evolving as a species again. I don't see it happening other than moving into a digital platform.
well, I mean, we always are. I mean, we are. There are other things like our medical is getting much better, so we're living longer. We have that.
You're just prolonging the species. You're not evolving it. That doesn't evolve it.
Okay. Ron, do you have thoughts?
Oh, I didn't mean to stop. I'm not
No,
stomping
no.
on your dick. I'm just sharing my
I don't
Again-
think you are at all.
Again,
No, I'm just trying to.
when
get,
we think about, okay, let's just take human evolution and what I know about it. You guys know it's a subject I'm interested in. Human evolution, the reason we before were able to have so many different species of humans, humanoid, Homo species, and et cetera, was because there was separation from each other in so many different parts of Africa and then parts of Europe, et cetera, for so long, like
hundreds of thousands of
hundreds
years.
of thousands of years.
Hmm.
And that just doesn't happen anymore. There's just so much intermixing of everybody around the world that there really isn't a chance. If some humans could break off, you could break off enough humans and put them in one spot and not touch them for 300,000 years, there is a chance that if somebody goes and sees them in 300,000 years, they are literally to the point they were a different species that maybe they couldn't even procreate with us. Maybe they could.
Let me ask you this.
Maybe they couldn't.
What if it's already
That's the
happened?
only way.
What if it's already happened?
It's possible, I guess. I mean, maybe
has
someplace.
The quote-unquote grays could be humans just evolved under a different...
Grays?
The gray aliens. The big head, dark eyes.
I gotcha.
Those could be humans that have evolved under a different set of circumstances because our intellect, even 100,000 years ago, granted there's no evidence of it, but we could have been smart enough to create spaceships and ghost travel the galaxy.
Okay.
And the grays could be us coming back going, God, glad we fucking left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But because we really don't have that separation anymore. That's the reason why. That's the reason why we kind of just ended up with this one.
Yeah, Homo erectus.
We're not Homo erectus.
No, I mean
I am.
but that's
We're
when
Homo sapien.
when we
I
started
am.
coming together. That was Homo erectus, and then we, as a collective, evolved to Homo sapien.
Rectus barely even knew him.
Hey, just go back to what you were saying. You weren't stomping my dick because I don't have a theory. I just have
Oh,
A
okay.
massive
a proposition.
What's
And
interesting?
get your thoughts.
What's interesting is the last other human species we know that was alive, not us, was like only. I know this sounds only when I say it, but it is only considering the time the Earth's been here. It was only like 14,000 years ago, which isn't really that long on an
Of course
evolutionary
not.
scale.
Not even at all.
That was-
Yeah. It was Florenza.
Homo Florenza, yeah, you told me
look
that once
at you,
before.
buddy.
No, that's from
know
you.
This stuff.
That's 100% from you.
And it was like I forget, like in the Indonesian island or something that they found these, like they call him the Hobbit Man. Actually,
That's true.
It was
That's
like
they're
these
tiny,
little
4
short,
foot- yeah.
these little tiny short.
Short,
people.
short.
Are you sure
And
it
then
wasn't Jersey
and
Shore again?
Neanderthals were about 50,000 years ago, and they did actually crossbreed with Homo sapiens, like most people.
That was recently discovered, wasn't it?
Yeah, unless you're of true African descent. Many people who are of true African descent do not have Neanderthal DNA, but just about everybody else in the world does.
Huh. Interesting. I'm hesitant to submit my 23andMe or whatever the other one is. I'm hesitant to do it.
Why?
Why
Because
is
they've
that?
they've caved every subpoena the FBI has ever sent them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty good reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because not that I've ever committed a crime that the FBI would care about my DNA. However, they give it up for free. When you sign that waiver saying, yes, you now have the rights to my DNA, you're now in a fucking giant database. Now, odds are my DNA is probably already in the database. However,
It's in my database.
Giggity.
oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So are we done on the evolution?
This was way more thought provoking than mine was. And you're not even done. I mean, there's a proposition at the tail end of this that Tach has alluded to.
No. That was it. Because he was saying, I don't want to stomp your dick because I don't have
Sound like he said, "I don't want to stop your dick."
stomp your dick.
Oh, stomp your dick. Gotcha.
Sorry. That's what he said. He goes, I didn't mean to stomp your dick.
Yeah, I didn't want to come off as...
No, not at all. Because
I don't want to be Cliff.
I
all right?
just have the question. I don't have an answer. I don't even have my own theory.
It's something I've thought
It's
about
just
too.
something-
I really have.
Yeah, like I feel like we're stunting our evolution. by
Super
not-
intelligence. Nick Bostrom. You need to read that.
In some dystopian.
It's good.
In some dystopian form, at some point in our life, somebody's going to think about that and actually act on it in society.
How cool would that be? It'd be a very fascinating study. Like just like you're saying, take a few people, stick at what?
It sounds like the sounds like the unethical experiment.
Yes, it sounds
it sounds
extremely. Yeah,
bad.
I instantly rolled my eyes because it sounds horrible. I didn't
Cambridge-
mean to
does.
roll my eyes, but it was
Cambridge
just my natural
prison
reaction.
experiment? Is it the Cambridge prison? Who did the prison experiment?
That was
That's not the unethical.
Stanford, I think.
Stanford prison experiment. Yeah.
So the unethical experiment in sociology is it has that title because there's no way ethically for us to understand humans as animals. And what I mean by that is as isolated animals, taking a human from birth, isolating them, having them self-develop in total isolation. It's called the unethical experiment because, well, you have to remove one of our own, a human, from the species. You have to isolate them from the species and let them just live in observation.
Like the Truman Show.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that he was isolated and on camera, but no, because he was.
Head interactions.
Yeah, he had
So
humanity.
complete isolation.
How do
Total
we
isolation.
know that
Holy shit.
somewhere in some other country somebody hasn't or isn't already doing that? though?
It has happened. It
It
happened here
has.
in America.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I
it
didn't even know
happened.
that.
She made it. She was not in total isolation. However, she was in. So the article about it again, it's awful, and even to recount it, it sounds terrible.
It's,
but it was
yeah,
this little girl who was taken by her grandma very near birth. For whatever reasons, maybe the mother died or something, some tragic coincidence, or maybe she was just maybe she was an awful human being, but whatever. So she ends up with this infant that she puts in a room, and the only interaction was through like mic and speaker. She didn't interact with a person. She was like given food through a slot under the door. She was in.
So this is like a true feral person.
Yes, yeah. This is a human who had
There's
lived
a
in
movie
box.
about that where the girl in the woods.
The Jungle Book.
No, no, the girl.
Tarzan.
As a mate, I gotta look it up.
What?
She developed her own language, and the movie that portrayed her represented the language that she created. When she was later found, that because she was completely isolated in like the middle of this 14,000 square acre forest, nobody knew that anybody was in there, but she was living there.
Emerald Forest.
What the
that
fuck
was a
is the
movie
name
from
of
the
it?
80s. Similar.
This could be the weirdest Google search ever. What movie had a woman isolated in the woods by herself for
Well, while
years?
you're looking real quickly, asking you guys, so as awful...
Oh, sorry. That was time suck. Sorry, it just launched. Sorry.
So as awful as like these experiments that we can come up with, like, but how important are those kinds of experiments to like find out for the human race? You know what I mean? As awful as they are, do you think
So
that
maybe
you should do stuff like that?
Maybe let me reword your question
Yeah.
and make sure you're on
Please
board
do.
with it. Should we not ask maybe, are they important for humanity to know? And maybe instead, because I would feel better answering it in this way,
Mhm.
that the answers to these questions could provide value to humanity.
Yes.
And I know it's kind of a nuanced thing, but I don't think anything is so important that we throw a human in a box for 12 years to see what happens to them.
Right.
However, what ended up, not to throw back to what I was talking about, but that little girl, as soon as it came out, it was something like the old lady was senile and walked into child services instead of Social Security. And they got mixed up and they found out she had a girl in her house. They did a wellness check and they found the girl, whatever. But then there was the really weird fallout where then sociologists now had a living candidate who had gone through the unethical experiment. Again, this poor girl, but we got to see, I think there was value in that tragedy because we were able to really see how society can shape and mold a human versus no society.
So
it would
how
be,
old is,
All right,
is
so
that
this-
girl still alive now? I don't know how long ago this was.
This was it came up in a list that I did a while back. I forget why I was talking. Maybe it wasn't a list. Maybe it was on the other show. I whatever it was. I've talked about it before, but it was recent, like 90s, near the like post 2000, early 2000, something like that. It was recent though. I mean, I guess the 90s were over 20 years ago. But
The name of the movie, by the way, is Nell, Jodie Foster.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. I never saw it, but I remember that.
So is she still alive?
Jodie Foster?
No.
I have no idea. I've never followed up on
So
a
we don't
story.
know what's going on with her now.
So
Okay.
to kind of answer your question,
Yeah.
my first thought, and this is my brain always thinks extreme examples, so excuse me for a bad example. You said, well, should we be doing this from the knowledge we
No.
would gain?
Not should. Well,
Or, you know,
I guess kind of.
yeah,
I said
kind of.
that.
So then my thought is there's a lot of nuclear weapons, so we should probably go nuke somewhere so we can gain some knowledge about what happens. You know, how far does it spread? Who's going to die? How many people survive? How did those people survive? Maybe it'll help others survive. Yeah, we would gain a ton of knowledge from all that, but ethically we shouldn't do it. So in my mind, yes, we would gain knowledge from doing experiments like that. Absolutely, to help advance our society.
Yeah,
It's so unethical. Those are just some things
Right.
we ain't ever gonna know.
I'm going to, and I might regret this as soon as I bring it up. However, if we were to throw back to the awful, awful travesty that was World War II and the Nazis, they did
Horrible shit.
tons of awful human experimentations. I mean, at one point, I don't even know if we've ever talked about this on mic, but there's a video and it's horrendous, but they air quotes successfully did a head transplant for a chimpanzee.
Yeah. I saw the one with the dog. That was brutal.
Yeah.
So it
Mm.
it was successful in the sense that like they reattached it and it came to and it woke up and it was able to scream, which again it's a video of this chimpanzee in panic and pain and terror and screaming.
But functioning.
But that means the lungs and the diaphragm were all working, the vocal assembly was all working, like they successfully did it.
So is that a head transplant or a body transplant?
Well, it was
That's not. It sounds like a joke, but it's a real question.
It was a head transplant, 2 bodies. They euthanized a chimpanzee, severed its head,
Mhm.
prepped this other one. It probably happened more in tandem than that, but prepped this other one and took its head off of one body, put it onto a second
They
body.
did a lot of unethical shit, obviously, back in the Nazi days. I mean, I swear to God, some of these ideas I think they just thought of at a bar. And like, wonder what would happen. Now, this is going to get serious because they actually did this. Wonder what would happen if we tied a woman's legs together while she was giving birth. Like this is kind of bullshit that they actually tried to see and
both
and
times.
did it
There's no
and see what happens. And
fucking.
spoiler alert, not good things. So,
I can't believe there's a conspiracy theory that the concentration camps never existed.
Those people,
That's an amazing thing to me.
Those people suck.
I wish they had like video to show it or something.
In fact, in
yeah.
Germany, it is a crime to deny World War II. You can go to prison for publicly denying that World War II happened.
That World War II happened, or that the Holocaust happened?
I mean, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Man,
that was their
Ay, ay,
history.
ay.
that was their thing, was the Holocaust in World War II that we wanted.
When are we going to make it a
so.
crime to deny climate change? Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
When it's
Well,
profitable.
let's not go down that road.
No politics in here, Ron.
It's not politics.
That's politics.
I know your angle, buddy. Get
That's
the hell
not
outta here.
politics.
I know your angle. All right. So did we cover the evolution thing? You wanted
Yes,
to bring up,
we can move forward. Sorry.
Mr. Wilson?
Okay. So I don't know how I'm going to follow that up, but this is going to tell a lot about me as a person. So that great, deep, thought-provoking conversation will follow that up with your list reminded me of a childhood cartoon, Cow and Chicken.
Oh yeah. Oh, chicken. Yeah.
There was an episode where Chicken needed a quarter, but they only had 2 dimes and a nickel, and it was a problem for Chicken. And then some things happened, which I don't really remember, but then there was time travel, and they ended up back at the primordial soup, and they were just on this big empty
Nice.
field that's just dry and dead, and then there's just this little 2 foot across bubbling vat of just green primordial goo, and for whatever reason he flicks his dime, I believe it was, into the primordial soup, and then they flash forward through time and everybody has dime heads.
So that's number 11. So there you go.
There you go.
So I don't know where I heard this, but there's a theory about time travel, and God, where did I just hear this?
Just say time suck.
It's
We know
most
you want
likely.
to.
It might. I don't think it's time
I'm
suck,
just
but
kidding.
no, it's about. It's a really interesting story about the guy that wanted to meet Beethoven so bad he went back to meet. He studied.
That
all
was
of his
me.
work. Was it
Doctor?
you?
That's Doctor Who.
It is Doctor
That's a
Who.
Doctor Who
yes.
thing.
Was that last week?
It might have. It wasn't on
Fuck
the
my
show.
memory.
I don't think. It's causal loop. It's the causal loop time theory.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I thought about that fucking like 100 times since
Sure
you
wish
told
we
it to
knew
me.
about it. Ron.
Okay.
Yeah, go expand it. Yeah,
Okay.
do it.
Okay. So this was. It happened. I want to say it was like season 8 or something. It was Peter Capaldi era, but
So we're talking the 60s here.
no.
No.
This is
No.
this is
Recent.
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 Oh, you
last,
said
this is like
like 7
yeah.
years ago.
2010.
Yeah, 6 or
20
7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
okay.
But he's the most recent Doctor. He's Doctor 12 or 13, whatever. I forget. Anyways, but he does. They do every once in a while 2-part episodes, and each episode's about an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour. So they do these 2 parts, and they usually tell you in advance, like you're going into a 2-part, and you get a whole big to be continued thing. But he has this particular one. They had to preface the 2-episode story explaining the concept of causal loops, and he talks about it. It's a big thing about his character that he likes to play music, and he's really into music. Well, he tells a story from his life, air quotes, and as a doctor, where he has all of the sheet music. He has all of Beethoven's sheet music, and he wants to meet him. Well, he's a fucking time traveler, so he goes to meet him. Well, he goes back to the right era, and I forget the time period, but he goes back, and he's trying to find Beethoven. He can't find him. Nobody has heard of him, so maybe he thought that he was, a master artist after his time. So he goes back and tries to find him. He couldn't find him. Nobody knew who Beethoven was. He could find no record of Beethoven existing. But he couldn't imagine a world without Beethoven. So he left the sheet music in the correct time period. So the question is,
And
Who-
created
I-
Beethoven.
so
So it's
who?
like a paradox almost.
It's a
Yeah.
time travel. It is a paradox by definition.
the
So the
story's fascinated me.
So the question is, who is Beethoven?
Mm.
Is the doctor the Beethoven because he left the sheets for himself?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a wild one. Yeah, time travel paradoxes are pretty neat.
I
That's
love
cool.
them. Yeah, those are awesome.
All right. So you were wrapped up on yours, right?
I got more. I can keep going.
No, well, no. I teased something during the show, and I think you guys would appreciate this. So my son is 16, and he's developing for his career now into Adobe Photoshop and doing all these really cool things that he's working on. But he's still a 16-year-old kid, and he's still, during this COVID pandemic, he still wants to go hang out with his friends and go do things. And my only rules have been that if it's a couple of friends, that's fine. Use your best judgment, wear your masks, keep social distancing, just be respectful, because we have a 3-month-old here at the house, and I don't want to have that stuff coming back to hurt her little immune system. So he got permission to go down to Cocoa Beach to hang out at the beach. And I asked him, I'm like, all right, who you going with? He's like, he named it 2 of his buddies. It's like, okay, all right. I said, take your mask and just, be as limited on the beach as you can with exposure to other people. If you want to throw the football, kick soccer ball, play volleyball, whatever you want to do it. So I call him a couple of times, sometimes when he goes out and stays out for 5 or 6 hours, because I just am touching base. I'm being dad. So I get a message from Tach when Tach has recently had come back down here and hadn't quite made it to the show yet, but he was getting himself settled, finding his jobs, landing his job, doing his stuff, getting his whole life put together. And Tach sends me a message. He's like, hey, I just saw Josh. It's my son. Like, what? Where? He's like, we're at the pier. Like, oh, the Cocoa Beach pier. Well, Josh wasn't supposed to go there. He wasn't supposed to be at the pier.
I thought you said you gave him permission to go to the beach.
Of all the gin joints in all the world.
I gave him permission to go there. But here's the funny part. Yeah, okay, fine. I had a little conversation with Josh about, keeping distance. And I think this was like a Thursday. It wasn't even a really busy like Saturday or Sunday. It wasn't a weekend at the pier.
All right.
And so I'm like, let me test my son's honesty. So I messaged Jack. I'm like, who was he with? And Tach's like, I don't know, some hot blonde chick.
Well, I was like, some dude and some blonde chick.
Oh, well, was Josh honest?
When I called him out on it, he got home. He comes into the house. I'm like, hey, so Tach said you were with some girl. He's like, I knew he was gonna rat me out.
Nice.
Tach's an arc.
But I got a couple questions. Like, so what's the difference between him allowed to go to the beach and then him being at the pier?
Sure. The pier is more densely populated than any beach in Brevard County. So that's the only hang up I have with the pier.
He only went on the pier just to use the bathroom, I think.
I'm not really upset. I know my son Josh is going to be you too, Josh, but he's going to be respectful of the rules. He's going to not,
no, he was good.
Put himself in a situation.
He wouldn't do anything stupid or anything, Every once in a while I look over, I see him just throwing the football around like the boys.
Throwing the football around like the boys?
He's really an awesome kid. So I'm very, very lucky to have him. He's very respectful. He's way better than I was to my father when I was his age. So
for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I saw him, I was like, hey, I know this guy. And he was like, hey, what's up? And, and that was about it. And a quick little conversation, and then that was it.
Little fucker. He's 6'2" now.
Little. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I got a really cool Father's Day gift this year. I'm not super big on scheduled gifts, by the way. Let me throw that out there. I think that and it's not that I don't appreciate it, but if you show up at my house and if you're somebody I see regularly, there's a caveat, there's not being an asshole, but if you show up at my house and it's like my birthday and you're like, "Hey, it's your birthday. I got you something." And I don't want to sound unappreciative because I appreciate anybody who gets me a gift, but it's you bought me a gift because
arbitrary obligation.
Yeah, it's like it's imposed upon you, and I don't like that. If someone shows up at my house with a 6-pack of beer on a Tuesday for no reason, wonderful. That means so much more to me because you were just thinking about me. So my wife, knowing this, for Father's Day, she bought me something I had mentioned sometime in the middle of last year. Did you guys know that I am 100% for real a lord?
What's that now?
Lord.
I'm a lord.
A lord?
Joshua
I'm
Wilson.
As in, like, you have a history in relation to, like, English.
That doesn't define a lord.
Nope. So there's different types of lords.
Isn't it like a rich English?
So
you got some money?
I wish I had enough money to be given a. The term is peerage, actually. I learned a lot about lord
gross.
titles.
That sounds nasty.
So if you have peerage as a lord, that means that you are like present, you are in the House of Lords, taking part in government, you are an actual like title-bearing lord. Then there's a sirehood, I believe that's, the knighted. You get knighted. You become a knight. That also gives you its official title. Or the other title at the very bottom of the chain of how you could possibly hold the title of lord is you are lord of the manor, and that you have a plot of land dedicated to you. So what Margaret bought me was it's a 2-pack, a lord and lady.
The rapper?
2-pack. 2-pack the rapper.
Nice.
A lord and lady title. So we are Lord and Lady Wilson, and there's actually there's a plot of land in northern England that it's a 5 square foot area that has been dedicated.
You're not used to that yet.
There's a 5 square foot area that has been dedicated in our names. So I am Lord Wilson.
You know what that really changes for him, though, don't you? Now, on any application he ever fills out on the internet, when it drops down that section where it says Mr., Mrs., what, insert Lord. That's what he has.
You know what? You joke.
A lot of them have
I
it?
have looked for it, and I have not seen it a single time.
That's interesting. That
I
should
wonder
be
if you
in
would
there.
see it like
fucking
in
racist.
England as
Maybe.
an option.
Go apply for a British
Go
UK
apply
job.
for a British job just to see if you can pick Lord.
That's gonna lower my odds. Fucking American. And I say that so we have an intern on our team, and she's wonderful, and she's from Scotland. And
G'day, mate.
oh my lord! So
Give us some French. Some French Scottish.
Oh, sacre bleu, mate.
So
You were saying.
I was going to tell her about it because I said you're either going to think this is absolutely hilarious or you're going to be offended by this, and I don't know where this is going to land, but bear with me. And I told her about that, and she said, I think it's absolutely hilarious. And I said, that's really great. She said, you know how silly it is if you ever go over there and say that to anybody, right? I said, absolutely. I even felt a little bit funny telling you about it, and you don't even care. It's a really cool gift. And by the time this comes out, those of you who are in Discord, in the very early days, I actually had my name set up as Lord Josh because I thought it was so
That's
fun.
why it says Lord Josh.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't know where the hell that was coming
yeah,
from.
I changed it because I realized that the only people who knew that story at this point were in this room. So it was just kind of pretentious.
I can apply to claim the Lord title for my heritage. It's pretty neat. I could apply for it. I probably wouldn't get it because I have no land or any kind of affiliation with England at all. However, I am a direct descendant of Lord Byron Nelson, who was some big, huge dignitary back in the 1200s or something.
Never mind.
There we go.
Oh, slug bell? Nice. I can apply to be a lord, but I don't think I would actually get qualified. They're going to tell me, go buy your 5 square foot of land.
When you got ordained online, I also got ordained online as well. And
I just got my 3-year membership or my 3-year anniversary email for that. It's like, congratulations, Pastor Adam. 3
My shit
years.
was fucking 10, 15 years ago. No, actually longer than that. I think I did in 2000. Anyway, but another option you can pick instead of ordained minister, what you can also pick Jedi. You can pick all kinds of these official titles, and I was so tempted. I was like, no, I'll just bring it. But minister is what I think.
Your metachlorian count wasn't high enough.
Shut up!
You like it.
It's a prequel thing. I'm going to follow that. That's not in the Jedi temple.
It's not real lore.
That's right.
It's not in the Jedi handbook. They don't talk about metachlorians at all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness.
Our friend Kat
I'm gonna say
has that memorized.
I'm going to say it.
It's impressive.
George Lucas leaving Star Wars, best thing he could have done. Sorry.
You think it's getting better now?
Well, no, I joke about the George Lucas thing, but what's kind of interesting, now we're going on a different topic here. Interesting is that ever since Disney owns the rights to Star Wars, I don't know if anybody's noticed, there was never any cussing in any Star Wars movie until Disney got a hold of it. Except there was in the first one, Obi-Wan Kenobi did say damn, but that was it. But since Disney has had Star Wars, you hear now bastard, you hear ass, you hear, I think Chewbacca said fuck once. I think
That's what he said.
it's close.
Yeah.
It's close, but yeah.
A little more in there.
I think Disney has done a really great job of the franchise.
I like the new Star Wars. I think they're fantastic.
They're good.
I haven't even watched The Mandalorian yet. I hear that's really good.
I'm still waiting. I haven't seen it yet either.
Mandalorian, I've heard nothing but great things about it. I haven't watched it either, mostly because
awesome.
I just don't have time right now.
Jon
I'm not
Favreau?
making time.
Amazing.
I'd rather play games and stuff. But There's one thing. I have one major overarching gripe for the new direction of the show, and it's the fact that if you watch the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, as it were, the line between good and evil is very defined.
Oh yeah, definitive. Yeah, absolutely.
Darth Vader is the darkness. He is the bad guy. He is the strongest negative force in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the antithesis to that, his son, who's
literally wearing
like
white.
the opposite. Yeah, he's in white. Like he is the force of good. You know, the balance of the force thing. There's a reason for it. But now, like you have the main character of the modern trilogy. You've got Rey, who's carrying the yellow lightsaber. That's indicative of I don't know if you guys know this. There are different types of Jedi.
Mm.
So the fact that they brought out a yellow lightsaber is now showing that she's like a scout. What are they called? But they'd be like her.
I've heard this too. I can't remember.
Yeah,
either.
and it's something that only presented itself in books. But they use yellow lightsabers. They're really known for their adoption of technology. So she is a Jedi in all proper sense, but she's very, I don't want to say dependent on technology, but her style and like her whole thing revolves around
She's
it.
like a Mennonite.
She wears overalls.
Oh, that's funny.
Mennonites in Colombia wore overalls. That's
Oh,
why I said
gotcha.
it. The men did.
But she's like, you have this whole thing with her and Kylo where they've they towed this line, and there's a whole other concept of gray Jedi, their own order, and this whole thing in the
Gray
in the lore.
Jedi.
Yeah, there's gray Jedi as well that are.
I think it's book stuff. I think
It is. It's never anything that's come up in the movies.
I want to
ever.
see.
So that's like
I want to see the ET.
canon.
It is canon.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't anything that was wiped when Disney took over, but the story has built in that direction to allow for like the other orders of just fringe Jedi that were good people or good characters and good forces, but they didn't want to fall under the council. So they were like this gray, like they didn't fall to they didn't feel that they needed to be in the structure of the Jedi Order and Council to do what they needed to do. They're the chaotic good characters of the Star Wars universe.
Huh.
But
So they're Christians who don't go to church,
Mennonites.
right?
I want to see ET become
What
Jedi.
are Mennonites? I don't
That's
even
what I
know
want to see.
those
ET.
are.
ET
He
become
was a
Jedi.
Jedi.
He wasn't a Jedi, but he
In
was
the movie
in,
ET, he wasn't
was in,
identified as Jedi.
He was in one of the Star
He was
Wars
in the
movies.
councils.
Yeah, correct. He was in the
part
Well,
of
not
the
the
council,
council. He was in the
Senate.
the Republic.
Senate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to see a fucking ET wielding a lightsaber with his force powers.
Well, you see him use force powers in ET. So
Yeah, but it was never identified as force.
No, of course not.
Whatever. All right, so that's our first after show, gentlemen. What do you guys think? Is it fun? Should we continue doing this?
it's quite a hodgepodge, cornucopia,
Potpourri.
and potpourri show. That
Ron said it best. What would you say the catchphrase for our?
Say it again.
Come for the content and stay for the hosts.
Yes, that is the fucking best catchphrase for this after show.
Come for the food, stay for the atmosphere.
Yeah, Applebee's.
Yeah.
Was it
I think-
Applebee's?
Are you Fridays or
TGI Friday?
Tuesdays?
Isn't it the same thing? It's all the same thing.
Well,
It's all the
Ruby
same food.
Tuesday.
Hey, what's the name of that restaurant with all the shit up on the walls?
But if you're interested in sponsoring the Twisted
Cracker
10,
Barrel?
let us know. All right, you guys ready to get out of here?
Yeah.
Let's fucking do it. Tach, we need some
for real
we need
this
some-
time?
We need some music for the after show. Can you hook us up with some of your Tach attempts? I want you to do more of those, by the way.
I am doing more. I got plenty more.
Are you going to
planned.
do mine? Fortunate Son?
Which one? I don't know the song well enough, but I'm not saying I'm not going
All right.
to. But
I think your voice would be
I've
really
listened
cool.
to it, and it's kind of funny because, everybody who like suggested songs, every song people suggested always have like a raspy singer, and I'm like, okay, I sang a little raspiness on this song, but
Well, you literally scream into the mic on some of your other types of music. So yeah, your
True,
voice is raspy.
true.
What image are you trying to portray?
I'm just doing a mixture. It's like everything. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I
right
think-
now I'm even listening to an Ed Sheeran song that I'm thinking about doing. So,
Damn, that's a tough voice.
Yeah.
I think you've got a good John Cougar Mellencamp type voice. You can hit that pretty well. No, I'm serious.
I got you. No, I
Or
hear you. I hear you.
who's the guy that sings the intro, or not the intro, but the soundtrack to
Wonder Years.
yeah, Wonder Years. Who's that?
That is
What would you do? Yeah, you do it
if
way
I
better than I
say-
do. Yeah.
Corker or
Cocker.
Cocker.
Joe
Joe
Cocker.
Cocker. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you could do that too. I think that would be a good one for you to try.
That's interesting. All
Yeah,
right, I'd probably do that.
Try your
one
best
first.
cocker.
on that, let's get out of here. Thank you for listening to the Twisted 10 After Show. We don't have to tell everybody
And
who we are.
thank
'cause
you.
Hopefully they pay for it.
Thank you for supporting the show.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being a
that.
patron.
Yeah,
This
for
is
sure.
for the patrons, so appreciate that, guys.
You guys get a special tag and role inside Discord server because you are paying for the Patreon services.
Yeah, thanks
So,
for joining the Twisted Council.
Hell yeah. You get to influence future shows. You get to maybe pick a top. I don't know. We'll come up with some additional features that you guys are going to have in the future from when we're recording this show. By the time this is out, you might already have it out
Hey,
there.
are you still sending a dick pic to all them patrons?
That's at the $20 a
No,
month level.
I can't. I can't because Google limits to 25 megs per email, and it's just so much bigger than that.
Oh my god!
That,
I can send like 40 of them. Then. All right.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. It was nice having you back in studio, Tach, and it was fun
Thanks,
recording our
buddy.
first after show.
That's fun. Cool. See you guys.